In today's episode, we speak to the amazing Grace Vandecruze. She has 20 years of successful career as an investment banker, primarily focused on financial services industry after having spent 7 years as a financial auditor in public accounting. She is an insurance investment banking expert, advising companies and insurance regulators on mergers and acquisitions. Miss Vandecruze is an active in the community and has served on numerous philanthropic boards, is a licensed sailor, and has participated in several water leadership treks in climbing of several mountains around the world. Let's speak to Grace and find out how she changed her life by changing her mindset. Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert, and I'm so excited. I'm speaking to the beautiful, the charming, the wonderful Grace Vandecruze. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you, Gull. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you. You are the gladiator yourself, and I can't wait for this conversation to happen.
Thank you so much for those kind words. And coming from you, they really mean a lot. You are amazing. You're a rock star. So, Grace, everyone's heard your intro. They know you are amazing. But please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
Yes, I am a financial advisor focused on mergers and acquisitions in the insurance industry. In addition, I'm a mountain climber. I've climbed over 25 mountain peaks on three different
Wow.
continents. And I have an amazing story, an amazing background in terms of coming from homelessness to where I am today. And I've written the book, Homeless to Millionaire, 6 Financial Pillars to Financial Abundance. And I can't wait to share with your audience.
And that's why we had to speak to you. You are a rock star, absolutely. And I'm sure many people are going to find today's conversation very inspiring and completely. I'm at the edge of my seat to learn more from you. So, talk us through, Grace. How did you end up being homeless? And then, what was your journey coming back up from this? So, talk us through how did you end up being homeless in the first place? Because I like to celebrate both parts of how you ended up in the ditches and how you climbed yourself out of them. I think both are equally important, and we've got lessons to learn from both journeys.
Sure. So I here have to mention my grandmother, my late grandmother, who raised 9 biological children, and she adopted 5 young sisters who lost their moms. So as a
Wow.
result, she and my granddad raised 14 children.
Wow.
I am the result as a result, I am one of 52 grandchildren that she has.
Wow, that's a big family.
I know, but Gul, as we speak here today, I knew that I was the favorite. I knew that because she would look at me and say, "You have blessed my eyesight and you have lengthened my years." But her
Wow, what
most
a compliment.
I know, thank you. But her most treasured words to me were believe beyond your limits. And that's the theme that has permeated my life, both professionally and personally. So I am one of 7 children, the second oldest of 7. And my parents immigrated to United States from South America when I was 14 years old, and we settled in Brooklyn, New York. And though we were pursuing the American dream and with a strong emphasis on education, and I went on to Pace University, pursuing an undergraduate degree while commuting back and forth home. So on one beautiful summer's day, the clearest skies you can imagine, at around 4 p.m., I came home only to discover that my brownstone that my family and I shared were up in flames. I can't imagine the details to tell you how I felt that evening. Here I was standing with my mom and most of my siblings because we were all, slowly coming back from school to discover what was happening. The fire trucks, the noise, the running back and forth, and just looking at this chaos before us. I would say it was most traumatic and transformative. But out of the ashes, my dad, who arrived and saw us standing there, and we were listening to all kinds of advice. You know, you're a family of nine, 7 kids, 2 parents, nine. Why don't you split up into twos and threes, go your separate ways until you can get yourself together? But he was resolute that we remain together and united as a family. And the only place that we can find refuge was a New York City homeless shelter. And
Wow.
I can tell you this because prior to entering that shelter, my mom had me go back into the brownstone apartment to salvage whatever I could. And I never forget it. What I could salvage was very little.
I can
And
imagine.
I put everything I could in a 13-gallon trash bag. And I tell you, there was a lot of room in that bag to spare. So me, my trash bag, my family walked into a most shocking experience. And there are moments in life that will define you, but at the moment you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
That's the moment when my grandmother's words became so real to me. Believe beyond your limits. Never plan your goals based on your current circumstances. That your goals is going to be your purpose, and your purpose is bigger than any circumstances that you may find yourself in.
I'm getting goosebumps as you're telling me this. Honestly, what a story. Please carry on.
So what I did was I went to my university and I increased the amount of credits I could take to the very maximum, which was 18 credits at the time,
Mm.
because I knew I wanted to spend most of my time in that university. I already had a part-time job. I wanted to work there, and I wanted that to frame my world
Mm.
because I could not imagine the smell, the hopelessness, the despair to even be allowed to be a part of me, that I had goals and dreams way beyond this homeless shelter. And
Mm.
while I was in this shelter was not in me in
Yeah.
any way that I was going to move on. So that's a little piece of my story. So when I go into clients, I talk to them about building their businesses in the insurance world. I am more than just an advisor. I'm an advocate. I'm an ambassador. I'm a promoter of financial wellness and security because know what it's like, and I want families to be healthy and safe. I want them to build a safety net that we did not have in that homeless shelter. I want them to have the financial security that will build legacy and move way beyond their financial circumstances. There are tools, there are resources available to do so. And my job is to really be an inspiration and be an educator to all of those who need those resources.
Oh, what a story. What a story. So am I to understand your parents didn't have insurance for your home?
Did not have any insurance, none.
Wow. 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 Okay. So now I want to unpack some of this. And I know you've done phenomenally well, so you don't mind me asking these questions. When you walked into that homeless center, how I know you focused, I'm assuming you were at university at the time, so you focused on university, but how did you not allow that to define who you were at that moment in time? That takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-belief, and I commend you for that. Absolutely, I do. And that's why I can understand why you mentioned your grandmother at the start of the conversation, because that those words kept you sane. I understand that. But from just for us to understand and appreciate this whole situation, how did you stop yourself from internalizing and calling yourself, I'm homeless? You had a situation where you didn't have a home, but you weren't homeless. So tell me, how did you do that?
I'd say a lot of this was a mindset. So I already had a mindset of, here I was, I had excelled in high school, I had the perfect score in my accountancy regents exam. The professor in my high school was also the head of my high school accounting department was a professor at Pace University. So that led my path. And I, as a very young age, knew that I had a wonderful career ahead of me. I didn't quite see all the forms that that would take, but I knew I had this upward mobility, that I was going to do better than my parents, that my parents had sacrificed for me. And an upward mobility was already embedded into my spirit. And I knew that my parents had done better than their parents. And so I will do better than my parents, because every generation sacrificed for the other. And so, and I grew up with a lot of scarcity. I grew up in parents that were, and I hate to use the word poor, because while they didn't have the financial resources, they were rich in love and support. And because my mom had the benefit of a big family, my uncles and aunts would come over. And one of the things they would ask me as a child is, what do you want to do? And I would say all manner of things. Everything from a nun to a police, a traffic officer, anything that I saw as a child. And no one said, oh, that's crazy. Or, so I was allowed to dream. And I thank God that I was allowed to dream big. And so I had a mindset in me that knew that I would be way beyond where I was, that there were no walls that could contain my dreams, none. And because I had that embedded as a small child, that was the biggest gift they could have given me. You cannot measure that in money. You can't measure that in anything physical. It is just a psyche that was in me. So yes, I walk into that homeless shelter, and with trauma, there comes a lot of pain and shame associated with that trauma. And you're with people that also have their own traumas as well. It's just the entire setting. But I was walking in there thinking, when am I going to walk out? I always looked at that as a temporary situation. This was my stepping stone to the next best version of me. I don't know where that's going to take, what form that's going to take, but by golly, this is a stepping stone. And so that was what I was thinking. And so were my parents. They were, how are we going to survive this and have you all be safe and have us all be together? And they devised plans where we would leave in twos and threes and come back in twos and threes, and coordination of our schedules. And I think they were the real heroes, because I think of what we survived, and for us to have been safe as a family of 9 for 8 months in a New York City shelter with no one getting any physical injuries, is just, it's just nothing short of a miracle. And
Agreed.
so, yes.
I think that whole journey has a spiritual aspect to it. And I think the prayers that your parents probably held for their children and themselves, and even your extended family held for you as a family, went a long way. That's how I'm perceiving this. But it also, from where I stand, gave you an opportunity to realize, this is not who I am. This is where I am right now. And I am going to far exceed this. Now, as you say this, I can absolutely relate to it. My mother left my father when I was 5 years old, and my father remarried with the intention that to have my mom and the second wife. My mom said, no, thank you, I'm leaving. So she did. She left, and it was in Pakistan. So he moved back. We moved back to the UK. And my father had made sure that she had no ways to turn. So the idea was to coerce it to accepting the second marriage. My mother, being the stubborn woman that she was, said no. So we literally went from riches to rags, and we
Yes.
ended up in the poorhouse. We were literally homeless here in the UK, in London. So we had
Yes.
no place to go. My father made sure that we had no money. My mother wasn't working, whatever. So we had literally no place to go but to a homeless place. So I remember being in there for 8 months as well with my brother. And
Wow.
I was, I think when I was in the home, because we moved from house to house until we ended up in this homeless place. So we stayed with family to as much as we could until we had no place to go, and we ended up being in the homeless place. And I think I must have been 6 years old, something like that, six something. And we were there for about 8 months until we were given we were given a council accommodation. Again, it wasn't much better, but it was still, away from the temporary accommodation. And I
Wow.
know in that moment, I was six. I was no more, I wasn't a 7 year, but at 6 years old, I had promised myself, and by the way, I'm dyslexic, I didn't know this at the time, but at that 6 year old version of me looked at where we were, and I can absolutely relate to it. I knew I didn't I think my mother made me believe and stuff, but I don't remember her words coming to me. I just remember as a 6 year old thinking, I'm not gonna live here forever. My mom's not
Yeah.
gonna live here forever. When I get older, I remember
Yeah.
saying this, when I get older, mommy, I'm gonna buy you a plane. My goal was to, and it still is, I haven't got there yet, but it will be. So private jet's coming, it just has a matter
Oh,
of
yeah.
time, right?
It is
So
coming. We
it's
will
coming.
manifest it.
100%, darling. I didn't realize all the other obstacles I'll have to overcome, but that
Yeah.
6 year old made a decision there and then that she was going to be financially free. No
Mhm.
books, nothing else attached. Didn't know I couldn't even read. But I can relate to you that way because I knew as a 6 year old I was going to go places. There was no way. But it
Yeah.
wasn't for me, it was for my mom. It was like, I'm going to get this for my mother. I'm going to do this for my mother. But
And yeah, and what an amazing triumph of the human spirit.
yeah.
And we can sense right away when we're in situations that really don't resonate with our spirit. You know, we know what makes our soul sing. We
Mm,
know what makes us get up in the morning. We know what purpose-driven life is all about. And
yeah.
even though we can't articulate it as a young age, we know it. It's in our spirit. It's already the gift of that has already been deposited. And so that I think motivates us while we're in the pit to say
Mm,
better days are ahead and I'm going to start making a step and moving in the right direction, even if I have to fall and get up and fall and get up, but I'm just going to keep getting up one more time more than I've fallen so that I'm going to get to a place that finally resonates with my spirit.
100%. And I can see that determination in your eyes, in your voice. And I absolutely applaud that. And I love that. I think that's the kind of spirit that changes the world. I really do believe people like you change the world for the better, for themselves and those around them. Not just because of the physical and the emotional help you can give, but by leading through example. When people look
Yeah.
at people like you, they think, she wasn't born into a lap of luxury. She wasn't given all the privileges. She hasn't even got the privilege of the color. We're both brown women. So we do operate, one, as women, two, as brown women. I never see myself as being a brown woman as a disadvantage. I see this as my USP. Like, I'm a brown woman. Hey,
Oh, it's your superpower.
it's
It's
superpower.
your superpower. It's
Yeah.
the things that people think are your disadvantages, are the things that you've been mocked at, the things that people think, oh, you can't, you shouldn't, you couldn't. That's the very thing that's going to propel you ahead. It's
Love
your
that.
uniqueness that allows you to be memorable when you speak and when you lead, and how you lead and how you speak, because you're bringing a perspective that few people have.
100%. I love that. I love that about you. I love what you just said because I have gone to places and sat at tables that I shouldn't be sitting at. But I've never seen myself being the fact that I'm a woman or the fact that I'm a brown Muslim woman be held as a disadvantage. I see that as an advantage. I'm like, no one's going to forget the fact that there's a woman on the table, and especially the fact that she was a brown Muslim woman. There we are. You're not going to forget me.
And then, by the way, once you're at the table, okay, you're not there by accident.
No,
Your gifts, talents, skills, treasures got you there. And by golly, seize the moment and make the best of it. You're there, open your mouth and speak and share your insights, wisdom, thoughts, and knowledge. it transforms the room. We cannot forget the impact our presence have just on the room. You know, once I was listening to a Sunday morning show and Madam Albright was the guest. And the host asked her, how do you let your voice heard when you're in a room with men, many of them leaders and pillars in their community, bigger than life, big egos? What do you do? And she said one word, and I will never forget it. She said the word was interrupt. Interrupt. Don't wait for your turn to speak. Interrupt. Men do it all the time around the table. Trust me, I'm a board, I sit on 5 corporate boards. Men will interrupt each other and they just flow with the conversations. Don't wait for you to be asked. Say, excuse me, and interrupt. It's a whole lot better asking for forgiveness than permission. So you're there and you are going to interrupt, and you can make what you have to say and say, I'm sorry, I just had to let you know that right at this moment, because I think this thought will change the trajectory of this conversation. It is of strategic importance that we look at this point of view. People will respect you. They love when you walk and you're comfortable in your own presence. They love it. And I just think there's so much buried in us that we need to share. And I just want to urge your audience, don't die with your story in you. Share it. The very parts that you've overcome, someone else needs to know. Your journey will be a roadmap for those behind you. I know this
Absolutely.
so I know this so well from climbing mountains. Trust me, we are roped in together. And when it's dark and you're tired and you don't know what to do, just focus on your next step. And there's someone that will lay a footprint for you to follow. And that is your savior when you're in difficult places and you're being interrupted at every step and the storms are around you, you're not sure where to turn. Just focus on your next step and make that next step your very best step.
I love that. I love that. And absolutely, it's true. You have to focus on the next step. And sometimes you literally are focusing on the next step, not in the next 10 steps. But if you take one step at a time, it would get you far. But having that belief in you
Yeah.
and not being apologetic for who you are, not apologizing for your presence, and not having to justify why you're at X, Y, and Z. You are there because you deserve to be there. I think all suffer from as imposter syndrome at some stage, but we have to come into the idea that if we're in a room, we deserve to be there. We've earned our place. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
how you've gone there, what's happened, and I think it doesn't matter how many degrees you can have 5 PhDs under your belt, and you're still gonna have an imposter syndrome. Am I good enough to be in this room? At some point, it attacks everyone.
That is so true. I'm a member of the Insurance Supper Club. I'm actually a board member of the Insurance Supper Club, and it's a club of women in the insurance industry in the C-suite, all executive women, many of whom have PhDs, all kinds of degrees. And that's the one thing we talk about, imposter syndrome. Now, you may have imposter syndrome because you're walking a path that no one else has walked. So you go into the room and you become the only, the only, the only, the only. Let me tell you something. Sometimes our mission is in life go way beyond us. And there are times we have to have the most empowering self-talk in order for us to walk in the confident and fulfill our mission. The self-talk is what's going to make you excel or just sit back and just let the world go by you. Why not make your self-talk the most empowering talk ever? More important than what I've heard growing up of you can't, you shouldn't, you
Yeah.
this, you're that, is what I tell myself that's most important. I always say the biggest, hardest mountain I've ever climbed and the journey I've ever climbed is the 18 inches between my head and my heart. Let me tell
Love
you.
that. I love that. I love that. That's I'm gonna use that in the future. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Grace.
Listen to your heart. Your head says all kinds of things. Your head says no one else has done this. Your head says, what do you think you're doing? Your head says, how can you? But your heart says, I'm here for a purpose. My heart says, I am building a legacy. My heart says, this world needs to see my empire. My heart says, my story has deeper meaning that can help so many others. My heart says, I'm here to make an impact. Listen to your heart. I am telling you, that is where you will fulfill your journey. That is where your happiness lies. That's where your peace lies. And that's where your impact lies.
I love that. I love that. And on that note, we're going to wrap this up. We could talk forever. Your story is amazing,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you are amazing, Grace. But just give a quick, give few tips to somebody who's on the journey right now, and they look upon you and they look upon me and think, oh, it's okay, you've done it, but I haven't got that validation yet. I haven't had the breakthrough yet. I'm still knocking at the door or creating a door for myself. Do you have any tips for someone to hold on to their self-belief?
Yes. My tip for you is keep on going. My tip for you is that whenever you have a journey and you have an amazing destination before you, and the purpose and your mission is ambitious and it's going to change your lives and the lives of many, be prepared to encounter many obstacles. Be prepared to be criticized along the way. Be prepared to be mocked along the way. It is not an easy journey, but guess what? You're so prepared for it. You're so ready for it. Every battles you have fought and overcome is there to prepare you for the next bigger battle. It's there to give you the confidence. It's there to give you the inner strength within you. And you've got more strength inside of you than you could ever imagine. You are going to look back in your life, and your future self will thank your current self for not giving up, for trying an extra harder the next day, for saying, I'm going to get up in spite of the fact that I'm tired today. I'm going to get up just so that I know that my future self have so much more in store than I can ever dream or imagine. Keep on going. I'm a living example of how life rewards you after you've endured betrayal, blood, sweat, tears. But at the end of the day, walking out of an old relationship or a toxic relationship, having the courage to say no to that and clearing your life of toxic path, of negative energy, will open up for you a brighter future with healthy relationships that can build you, stir your soul, and help you fulfill your dreams.
Absolutely wonderful. What a brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Grace. Grace, we will have to have you back on Money Talkies because we need to continue the conversation. You are amazing. But for today, tell everybody, how can we connect with you? Where can you find you on the internet?
Absolutely. My name is Grace Vandecruze, and you can find me on graceglobalcapital.com. And of course, you can buy my book, Homeless to Millionaire. It's on Amazon. And also my master classes on financial abundance is financialabundancewithgrace.com.
Wonderful. Now, if you're listening to us on the podcast, the links that Grace has just mentioned will be on the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have the links for her to go check her out and see how she can inspire you. Definitely inspired me. And how she can help you to change your life. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Grace. We'll have to have you back on my Talkies, but for today, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And thank you for listening to me and Grace today. I will be back with another amazing guest, finding out how they change their life by changing their mindset. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.